Now, should political candidates be banned from lying about their opposition? Now, that question could soon be answered by the Supreme Court. Now, there's an Ohio law that makes it illegal to knowingly or recklessly make false statements about a candidate during an election. Now, many people and many groups see that as a restriction on the First Amendment. Now, the Supreme Court is actually not expected to rule on the constitutional issue. Instead, it wants to focus on the narrower question of whether the law can be actually challenged before it's enforced. Now, according to the Huffington Post, this case began during the 2010 election, when an anti-abortion group, anti-choice group, called the Susan B. Anthony List, directly planned to launch a billboard accusing then Democratic Representative Stephen Driehaus of supporting taxpayer-funded abortions because he supported the health care law. Driehaus, of course, urged the Ohio Elections Commission to block the ads, arguing that the proposed billboard was false and under Ohio law. Given the threat of legal action, the billboard owner actually decided not to put that billboard up. Now, of course, later on, Driehaus lost the election, withdrew his complaint before it could be heard. But the Susan B. Anthony List then decided to challenge the state law as unconstitutional. Originally, a federal judge ruled against the group, saying it hasn't suffered any harm, so it had no standing. The Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals in Cincinnati agreed, but the Susan B. Anthony List still argues that it continues to face threat of prosecution under that law. They say that it creates a chilling effect on free speech that gives the groups a right to challenge the law without waiting for a ruling from the Election Commission. Now, Ohio's Attorney General, Republican Mike DeWine, who has to defend this law for his job, for the state, he says he's got serious concerns about this law because he also says that it may chill constitutionally protected political speech. Now, I want to ask you guys, what do you think? Do you agree with this? Should you be able to lie about your political opponent?
No, absolutely not. I mean, there's in any kind of nature of a political campaign, there's lying and then there's lying. Kind of, it's a large spectrum of different lies that you can tell. And with the Susan B. Anthony List, that was just an outright lie. There was no facts behind it whatsoever, and so of course they're wrong. And just as a side note as well, I think it's the case that people who are arguing in favour of taking this law off the Ohio books is because we can't win on actual, facts and win an actual proper debate. We have to lie to be able to get our point across and have a chance of winning. But going back to the original point of whether you're able to kind of slander and libel your opponent, it just seems crazy to me that people think, oh no, you should be able to just lie in a political campaign. I don't see why anyone would be in favour of lies in a political campaign. So anyone who is supporting the idea of taking this bill off the books just seems ludicrous to me.
Yeah, as usual, my position's a little bit more nuanced than Stephen's. In principle, I completely agree with Stephen. I think it's crazy that it's okay to lie in a political campaign. But we've got to look at the details of the case and acknowledge, the details that we don't necessarily know and stuff that we're speculating on. Obviously, the Susan B. Anthony List is not a political opponent. That's not someone who's running for office. That's a lobby organization. That's probably I would assume is probably operating under Citizens United protection there.
You would be correct. And the whole reason that empowered them to be able to do this is they said, hey, look. Hillary, the production company that created Hillary the movie, sued to get, their political speech decided in Citizens United. So they won that, and they said, look, we can't chill your constitutional protected speech by saying that you can't make this movie. So Susan B. Anthony List decided that they would do the same thing under the same precedent that was set by Citizens United.
Okay, so with that in mind, the example we're dealing with here is not someone running for office, but people who are making quote-unquote media. I'm not going to call it entertainment. I understood Sean's point last week and the fact that it is rooted in the Hillary movie, but let's be honest. This is not entertainment. This is, a media with a political message, period. But anyway, what Sean did point out, political speech is supposed to be the most protected free speech of all. So, like, if you say you can't lie during a campaign, campaign stuff, then what happens? Like whenever SNL wants to do a skit and they make Sarah Palin look like the moron she is, but they make her say things she never really said. Like this opens all sorts of doors, and like so it depends on what the ruling is. Like I understand in principle what it's getting at, but unfortunately that's not how laws work in America, and our lawyers here are so good at taking the spirit of the law and making it fit their purposes. And I guess the other thing too would be, what can you sue for here? So like, if you prove there's malice, you prove they lied, it was intentional, you meet all the criteria. If the most you can win is you have to stop the ad, then I'm a lot more okay with this law. But if you can sue for reparation, which is what most lawsuits are about, then you say, this ad cost me this many votes, I lost the election, and someone who was not elected can sue their way into political office. And if that opens the door for that, then that is just as undemocratic, if not more so, than allowing lying to be protected under freedom of speech.
Okay, so I have to push back against your SNL example, all right? Because, first of all, SNL, that's satire, which is protected speech. Okay, so no, they would not be able to sue for satire. That would just imagine, like, Colbert wouldn't exist if they were able to do that.
So you're going to tell me then that the people who make that what was it, the 2016 video that came out during this past election cycle couldn't turn around and say, oh, this is satire? Of course they could, because it was that crazy. It was just as far from the truth as any SNL or Colbert was.
Well, that's the difference. They can't pass it off as truth. They can say, well, they have to say, look, this is entertainment. There's no truth here. There's no basically inherent value in this other than we're just making this off-the-wall satirical sort of thing. Take it as you will. But the way that Hillary
won't
and
stop
this
a single
movie,
lie, because everybody will say that, and the people who want to believe what they're saying won't care that they said that.
well, the people who want to believe what they're going to believe are going to believe what they want to believe anyway. This really, look, I don't think that you should have the constitutional right to, lie to people during elections, right? You really want, like, democracy is based on, and I should say representative government is based on an informed populace, right? One that is not continuously spoon-fed lies. See, that's our whole problem, is that we have nonstop, 24/7 manufactured lying news, or passing itself off as news when it comes to political, politicians and stuff, and political events and all this stuff. And that's a problem, because you're misinforming the populace, and so they're not able to get the right tools and the right knowledge to be able to vote. And once again, you have these people that are that are being misled and everything, right? And there are some people who believe whatever they're going to believe, and no matter what, you can't change their mind. But there are these people who are sucked into this basically trash media that lies to them, and then they get to believe that stuff because it's being continuously forced down their throats.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, man. And again, in principle, I'm right there with both of you guys. If we lived in a perfect world and we could make this, well, first off, in a perfect world, these Citizens United groups wouldn't exist anyway, so the law would be pointless, and it would only be between official statements by both parties, and I'm okay with that being, with it being illegal to lie there. But think about the world we live in. Think about our judicial system, specifically concerning the way campaign financing, campaign ads have been enforced the past few years. I've lost all faith in that group, and I don't trust them enough right now to give them control over what is and is not protected free speech. It really disturbs me.
the problem here is that the nature of lies, as I said, is a real kind of like grey area. Like if I was running in a campaign against Rick Scott, let's just take him because I don't like him. If I was running a campaign against Rick Scott and I have a political action committee who's kind of in my favour, who's running ads against Rick Scott, and they decide to run an ad saying Rick Scott's a paedophile, he touches kids, or he rapes women. Well, that's a flat-out lie. He should be able to sue for libel, and he should be able to take reparational damage costs for that, because that's just an outright lie. Now, if it was maybe a bit of a lesson like, oh, he kind of fiddled his taxes a bit, or he doesn't pay the right amount of tax, there's maybe a bit of kind of debate, and you can twist numbers and stuff. But I do feel that you have to have this kind of form of libel protection in case. I mean, here in the UK, kind of the case in a lot of courts that juries are asked is, would this statement about person A, would any reasonable man have a lower opinion of them because of this statement? And I mean, for the kind of the American audience that are watching it, they should all look up. There's a man called Ian Hislop who runs a magazine over here called Private Eye that does some satire. He deals with a lot of kind of political stories and wrongdoings in the government and businesses and stuff. And he's known as the most sued man in the United Kingdom because he's constantly being sued for libel. But a lot of the cases he will win in court because he proves the facts. But because he does it in a slightly harsh-toned way, that's why they tend to come after him. But going back to the main point, I think you have to. I mean, the main kind of the title of this story is: Are politicians allowed to lie during a campaign? And with John, I do agree with John that you've got to allow some lies. There is those half truths and those white lies and stuff. That's fine. When you come out with examples saying, this guy touches kids, he definitely touches kids, he rapes women, you've got to have some.
Well, we do though. Public figures and public figures and officials, they're held to a different standard, so they can sue for damages if they can prove that the defamation was done with malice. If you're saying that somebody is out there as a pedophile, and it's not true, and they can prove it, and this person knowingly says, "Yeah, I know, we lied about that, but it sure made him look bad, right?" Of course you can sue, and you can do that. You see, like, one thing that a lot of people tend to get wrong is that they think that the freedom of speech and some of our constitutionally protected rights have, no limits, right? They're just you can't limit that. First Amendment, I can say whatever I want, but there are limits, and the Supreme Court has actually said that we have limits. In fact, we have 5 separate areas: commercial speech, defamation, speech that may be harmful to children, speech broadcast on radio and television, and public employee speech. Like, those are not fully protected by the First Amendment.
So then I have a question. So then do we need this law? Like, if those things are already not protected, then do they not apply here already?
Well, in this case, this sign says, it's more of an opinion, right? Because this billboard was telling people, you support abortion because you support Obamacare. Well, that's sort of a lie, because, you know what I mean? Like, you're killing babies and you support killing babies. That obviously makes you look really bad, especially in Ohio, right? Which isn't exactly true, because Obamacare really doesn't have a whole lot to do with abortion funding, right? So they knew that. And so this law should apply to that kind of thing.
I mean, it's
sort of a gray area.
It is such a grey area, because they could have run similar ads saying some people say, or they could just simply put a question mark at the end of their statement. So it's what kind of Fox News and right-wing pundits do all the time. We're just asking questions. We're just asking questions.
You decide.
Yeah, and so it is and if this Susan B. Anthony list had phrased it in a slightly different way, I think they might have had a stronger case in court. I mean, I don't know the full ins and outs of kind of your justice system, but I do tend to agree with Jordan that potentially this law in Ohio isn't needed, But I get the sense that just having it on the books in Ohio it just prevents it having to go all the way up the ladders to Supreme Court. I mean, it has gone to Supreme Court now, but
it will.
It will, yeah.
So,
but I don't see this law doing any real harm being in place.
Yeah, and I'm generally in support of this law because there are protections on certain levels of speech anyway built into the Constitution. So I don't see this as much of as too much of a chilling effect on free speech. You know what I mean? Especially, once again, I know I'm getting a little hokey, but I don't think that we should have a political system based on dishonesty. And
okay, so here's what you do. Here's what you do then. Whenever it comes to the actual people running for candidate and their actual campaigns, put a law like this in place and let them be able to sue, not only to have that ad removed, but for the other campaign, has to put out another ad saying, hey, this ad was found to be a complete lie, and we had, they had to acknowledge that they lied, yada, 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 do that. But the problem here, and this is the objection to what I raised that you guys didn't, so I'm going to go ahead and argue against myself. Whenever I brought up Colbert, or I brought up SNL, and you guys brought up Colbert as well, the difference there is those are for-profit, industries or whatever. They're entertainment that's there to make money. These Susan B. Anthony lists and other people, not only are they non-profit, taxpayer subsidized things, some of them don't even have to disclose their donors. And so that's what you guys should have said when I brought that up, and that's why they should have more control. There should be more rules about what they can and can't do. To which I would respond, the answer then is not to start passing limits on our First Amendment free speech here. The answer is to not let political organizations be able to have private or secret donors and be tax exempt like they're some kind of charity, because they're not. We're addressing a problem that's real, but we're doing it the wrong way.
Social welfare groups is what
exactly.
They're called.
They're not. And their political campaigns treat them like that.